We have something very special for you today. A sponsored poll that breaks some really big news in a couple of major ways. Trump favorability, election integrity, and most importantly, Trump-DeSantis in a way that you haven't seen before. But first, this poll was sponsored by Larry Ward and Political Media. And because it's sponsored, you can go to RasmussenReports.com or the links in the video description on YouTube to read the story and download the extremely packed crosstabs yourself, even if you aren't a subscriber, though we would humbly ask for your support by becoming a paid subscriber. But first up, as a recap, the most recent time we tested Joe Biden versus Donald Trump in a hypothetical 2024 rematch, we had Trump winning 47% to 40%, about the middle of the range it's been in the last 6 times we've asked this question since 2020. That's great news for Trump, but notice Trump isn't over 50%, as well as that 11% that won another candidate and the 2% who aren't sure. We also tested Ron DeSantis versus Biden, and although Biden fares much worse here overall, and although DeSantis does a little bit better than Trump with what amounts to about a 1.1% larger lead over Biden when you consider numbers that haven't been rounded, he gets a 1 point less overall percentage of the vote, taking home only 46%, with a combined 16% not sure in some other candidate responses. Here are today's Trump-Biden numbers, however, and the results are almost exactly identical to what they were a month ago, though the combined other candidate and not sure responses are now down to 10%, from 13% back then, and giving both candidates a little more than a 1 point increase in their overall vote percentages. Trump is winning slightly among women, but he's crushing it among men by 12 points, and he has a stunning 29-point advantage among middle-aged voters in this poll. Here are the party numbers, and Trump has a 7-point crossover advantage and leads by 9 points more among Republicans than he loses by among Democrats. But look at independents, a stunning 15-point lead, up nearly double what it was a month ago, and back more in line with the lead we've seen for most of the past 2 years among independents. So these are undoubtedly pretty great numbers for the Trump camp. But it isn't exactly news. But here is what is news. A Trump-DeSantis ticket outperforms a Trump-only ticket. If Donald Trump's vice presidential running mate was Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, would you vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris or Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis? 51% of likely voters say Trump-DeSantis and 43% say Biden-Harris. The combined other and not sure responses are down even more to only 7%. Showing that the addition of vice presidential candidate names did spur people to pick a side. Against Trump-DeSantis, Biden gains a little more than a point over what he did against Trump alone. But the Republican ticket is up an astounding 3 points, putting Trump over the 50% mark at 51% for the first time pretty much ever, except for that one fluke matchup we ran in November 2021, where Trump led by double digits and also had a 51% vote share. But keep in mind, that was at the height of the Afghanistan fiasco, when people's eyes were really starting to open up about the Biden administration. The Trump-DeSantis lead here over Biden is at a hair over 8 points, and that's also wider than it has been for Trump in almost 2 years. In a previous video, which I'll link in the YouTube comments, we talked about the demographics where DeSantis has more support than Trump. It turns out that him being on the ticket really does, at least at this point in this cycle, sway some of those people to vote Trump. Higher income voters are the most prominent. The Republican ticket does 9% and 7% better in the top 2 income brackets than it does with just Trump. They also do 5 points better overall among those with graduate degrees, and probably most importantly, independents, almost 5 points better than Trump alone, bringing them up to a 20-point lead among independents. Trump-DeSantis does slightly worse in a few demographics, but not enough to overcome the advantages. Support among black voters is down 5 points, perhaps because of DeSantis and perhaps because Kamala Harris is now on the ticket. They also do 3 points worse among Hispanic voters, Democrats, and those with only high school diplomas. Ron DeSantis wasn't the only potential VP pick we tested with Trump. We also asked about Kari Lake and Marjorie Taylor Greene as well, primarily because they've been touted as potential VP picks. Here are the Kari Lake results showing that with her as Trump's running mate, they still beat Biden pretty soundly, though it's by almost a 2 points lower overall margin. Download the crosstabs to dig into the details yourself. Next up, Trump favorability, and again, this makes news. But first, here are Biden favorability numbers, pretty much in line with where they've been recently. Biden used to have much worse numbers, but they've moderated somewhat as people become used to him since he's lost control of both houses, and quite frankly, as new numbers will show later this week, as people are becoming more convinced that others are making decisions for him behind the scenes. Biden has a 46% overall favorability, upside down, with 53% of voters having an unfavorable opinion of him. Only 29% have a very favorable opinion. Here are the party numbers, and he's at 82% overall favorability among Democrats, with 59% having a very favorable opinion. As a benchmark, those numbers are slightly better than Trump's current numbers among Republicans. So for all that talk on the right about Biden destroying America, the Democrats, at least in our polling, either don't see it or aren't really willing to blame Biden for it. The Republican numbers aren't surprising to me, but take a very good look. 14% total favorability, 85% unfavorable. And remember those numbers. Independents have really low numbers for Biden right now. 38% favorable, 60% unfavorable, and only 17% very favorable. And here are Trump's numbers from the poll. This is the highest I've ever seen him in a post-2020 world. I was just remarking weeks ago about how remarkable a poll was showing Trump's favorability at 53% among all voters. But here it is at 59%, with a stunning 37% of voters having a very favorable impression of him, and only 29% having a very unfavorable impression. Now, this poll is targeted by region and weighted for age, race, gender, and party, not for things like your 2020 vote, ideology, or even Trump favorability. So there's inherently going to be some luck of the draw factor here. But I just can't remark enough about how incredible a 59% Trump favorability number is, beating Biden by a whopping 13 points, despite the fact that Biden receives uniformly positive coverage among mainstream press, and Trump is probably the most vilified public official in recent history. Hey, Democrats, Merrick Garland, I've got an idea for you. Maybe you should try to arrest Trump again. I'm sure it'll do the trick this time. Trump has a 17-point advantage over Biden among men and 8 points among women. He's actually almost even among 18 to 39-year-olds and leads by a stunning 25 points among middle-aged voters. But here are race numbers, and look how incredible Trump's favorability numbers now are among Hispanic voters. 73% overall favorability, 25 points better than Biden's doing. Trump is up by 17 points among white voters and down by 19 points among black voters, but black voters still have a 40% overall Trump favorability number. Here are the party numbers, and Trump is doing well with Republicans, better than he's been since early 2021, and his overall favorability is up 5 points from November 2022, his low point, while his very favorable numbers are holding solidly in the high 50s, where they've been since his campaign started picking up steam this year. Trump has a 58% favorability rating among independents, 20 points higher than their Biden numbers. But look at Democrats, 39% favorable, whereas Biden only had a 14% favorability among Republicans. Now again, this could be an outlier, but if this trend holds up, it's pretty bad news for Democrats, especially considering that Biden's platform seemed to rest really squarely on stopping Trump. DeSantis has pretty great favorability numbers in this poll as well. 1 point higher than Trump for overall favorability, but 4 points fewer very favorable. Here are the party numbers showing the same kind of trend among Republicans. His overall favorability is 4 points higher than Trump's, but very favorable is a pretty solid 10 points lower. He's roughly even with Trump among Democrats and independents. The crosstabs also highlight Kari Lake and Marjorie Taylor Greene favorability numbers. Although they're better than Biden's, they aren't nearly as high as Trump or DeSantis, which of course they shouldn't be expected to be, with a 22% and 15% not sure rating, respectively, and high double-digit not sure numbers even among Republicans, if that can be believed. But check this question out. Again, in my opinion, headline-worthy. How likely is it that cheating affected the outcome of the 2020 presidential election? Now, this is an old favorite of ours, but look at the numbers. 43%, closing in on a majority, now say very likely, and only 23% say not at all likely. A combined 62% say at least somewhat likely, which is, for this question, the highest number we ever recorded by an astounding 4 points. I'll link another video we did covering voters' opinions of the 2020 cheating, but the theme is the same. Just because press, public officials, and federal agencies are ignoring signs of potential election fraud doesn't mean the issue is going to go away. Voters' concerns about election fraud continue to increase, and they're higher than they've ever been. Here are the party numbers, and now even 45% of Democrats say it's at least somewhat likely that cheating affected the outcome of the 2020 election. And almost as many, 32%, say very likely as say not at all likely, 40%. And among independents, 64% say likely and only 28% say not likely. Even 42% of those who voted for Biden in 2020 say cheating affected the outcome of the election. And of course, 84% of Trump 2020 voters agree. Now, there is much more in the poll, including a trust on the issues comparison between Trump-DeSantis and Biden-Harris. Trump-DeSantis wins solidly on the issues of illegal immigration, government corruption, national security, and the economy, by double digits on every one except for government corruption. Those are important findings, to be sure, though it has to be said that Republicans, just generically as a party, have been crushing the Democrats on nearly every issue we've asked about this year, except for government ethics, Social Security, and the environment, where they're all roughly tied. Now, I want to take a moment again to thank our sponsor, Larry Ward, with Political Media, for helping us field this poll. Please follow the link in the description to the story in crosstabs. What I liked about the direction Larry wanted to take this poll was the focus on more unity among Republicans. And I think these numbers pretty solidly show that DeSantis could benefit Trump as his running mate. Does Rasmussen reports support or endorse such an outcome? Of course, never. We're politically independent and care only about bringing you accurate public opinion news. Larry at Political Media, however, thinks it would be a great idea. And if you agree, please show your support by visiting his website, wewantdonron.com. Nice name. As always, please like the video, turn on notifications, and subscribe at YouTube or Rumble. Please follow us on Twitter, and thanks for watching.